Coming to get you, Bobber.
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. We're going to be going back into my movie corner. I've not done it for quite a while because I've been on holiday, etc. But I've got a special guest today at my right, and we've got Barry from Stalk. How you doing, Barry?
Hi, mate. I'm very well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Not
a bit hot. It's a bit on the hot side today, isn't it?
Yeah, we're just discussing it. It's 27 degrees here and 30 degrees where Barry is.
If I spontaneously combust at some point during this, just don't be too shocked, all right?
Yeah, and that's Celsius for you guys in the US. That's not Fahrenheit because that would be freezing.
Yeah.
So, as most of you know, the movie corner is a segment that we can just talk about anything as long as it's movie related or mostly movie related. So we're going to come off of horror today and we're going to talk about comic book movies. We're kind of basing it on, or we're going to get right into the MCU and the DCEU, because I know there's a lot of fanboys out there that we were talking about that they're kind of Marvel or DC, and that's not how we work here. We like both Marvel and DC. However, I'm more of a Marvel fanboy, and we've got the other Barry who is mostly the DC fanboy, but we both like both of them. We're not kind of, we don't.
You can like both, can't you?
You can, yeah, absolutely. I know that obviously with all the COVID situation happening and stuff like that just now, Barry, people aren't getting to the cinema as much. But I eventually got to see Black Widow. I know you're saying you haven't seen Black Widow yet, but I eventually saw Black Widow. So that was the last comic book movie that I saw at the cinema. What about yourself?
The last comic book movie would have been 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh, really? So it wasn't even a DC one?
Sorry, I tell a lie. No, it was Birds of Prey. I apologise. It was actually Birds of Prey, February 2020. Yeah.
So just before lockdown.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Is it part of the DCEU? Because I know that obviously Harley Quinn's in it.
It is. I mean, ironically, Harley Quinn was put in there for commercialism, if you will. She's an incredibly commercially successful character right now, but Birds of Prey, despite doing better review-wise than Suicide Squad, 2016 Suicide Squad, the movie did not really set the box office afloat.
No, it did not. I think it was like 200, 300 million or something.
It was just over 200 million, whereas Suicide Squad made well over 750.
Indeed, it's one of the most profitable.
Yeah, I'll admit, I enjoyed Birds of Prey for what it was. I actually preferred it to Suicide Squad, personally. Do I think it's a great film? No. But, and at the end of the day, let's face it, the DCEU, well, we're going to get into it, aren't we? The DCEU hasn't quite gone according to plan, I don't think.
Well, and we will get into the whole kind of how they structure the universe compared to how Marvel structure their universe. But Birds of Prey, it's never one that interested me. I saw the trailer for it and I thought that doesn't look good at all. I'm one of the ones who, again, I'm not a massive DC fan, but I actually enjoyed Suicide Squad, and I'm probably one of the only people you'll speak to that actually enjoyed it. I know that I think the trailer set records, for being like the most watched trailer at the time.
Oh, the trailer was great.
The trailer was fantastic, and I think that's what the problem was. They over-marketed it. They marketed it as being like the next big Marvel-style DCEU movie, and it just wasn't. So it obviously wasn't as good as I expected it to be. But at the same time, I didn't hate it. That's the thing.
I mean, I don't think it's one of the worst comic book films of all time. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't massively disappointed. I've been reading the Suicide Squad comics for years now, and this is a film that I was quite anticipated. And, it came out, and I think ultimately it suffered from being butchered by the studio.
Yeah.
Through reshoots and rewrites. And it's like you said, it almost felt like it was a DC film trying to be a Marvel film. And with Birds of Prey, again, don't get me wrong. I mean, Margot Robbie has cemented herself in that role. She's fantastic as Harley Quinn. It's hard to kind of imagine anyone else playing that role right now. But it's a Birds of Prey film. I would have liked it to have been a Birds of Prey film. Batgirl has always been the founding member. She's a core member of that team. And of course, Batgirl is not in the film. Harley Quinn was put in there for, commercial appeal.
Yeah.
So it was more the Harley Quinn show than it was a true Birds of Prey film.
Yeah. Again, that's a good point, because you're talking about the comic books as well as Suicide Squad. So I don't read. I've never read a comic book in my life.
Okay.
But the funny thing is, I used to collect comic books when I was a kid, and I don't know why I never read them. I used to just, like my Blu-rays, I would collect them just to look at them sometimes.
Yeah.
I would always collect the comic books. There was a little comic book shop near me called, what was it again? Future Shock it was called.
Yeah.
I used to go there every Saturday morning and get a couple of magazines, a couple of comics, a couple of packets of Marvel cards, trading cards and stuff, and just that was my Saturday routine. So I would build up this comic collection without actually reading it, and I would even go out my way to buy like the older comic books, hoping that they'll be worth money in the future, etc. So I think when I watch a comic book movie, I'm not comparing it to a comic book,
which is sometimes a good way, because I'm not one of I'm one of them people. I'm all, I think sometimes changes can perfectly fit the format of a film. I'm not one of these people where it has to be 100% accurate. Yes. Some people are, where it has to be panel by panel and all that. But yeah, I was late to comic books. I didn't start reading comic books until I was in my late teens. It was Batman the Animated Series in '92, which really made me fall in love with the character.
Right.
I think that's the best superhero cartoon ever made. I think it's one of the best animated shows ever made. But that was really kind of my big introduction to the whole superhero genre, in all honesty.
Yeah. I think my introduction to the superhero genre was similar. I was a TV show. It was Marvel, of course, and it was the X-Men animated series back in
which was actually the same year, 92.
Yeah, 92. So it kind of introduced me to that. And I had a friend who loved comic books, and I was just never interested in it. And his cousin would come up and he would trade cards with him, and I'm like, I feel left out. And we used to always play X-Men in the garden and stuff, and I would never know what it was. And then the TV show came on, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And that just kind of got me right into comic book cartoons, at least at the time. And then when Blade came out in 1998, I didn't even know that was anything to do with Marvel. I didn't watch the start of the movie, like the intro, like what production companies or anything. I just watched the movie for what it was, and I found out that it was Marvel, and I was like, well, that's really good. And then obviously hit off after Blade came out, and then X-Men came out in 2000. But obviously DC cemented themselves earlier than Marvel, obviously with Superman from the 70s and the 80s. So I think DC looked like it had a head start, and then Marvel came back, rejuvenated themselves. But the problem with Marvel, I don't know if you know, but they sold a lot of their rights to some characters early on just to stay afloat. They sold it to Fox, Universal and stuff. So just try to get their catalogue back, their catalogue of characters back, to try and build a universe. And that's why, when they were making the Avengers and stuff, there was characters that a lot of people didn't really know, or they weren't really popular. Like Iron Man wasn't the most popular Marvel character at the time, but they made it work. And I think that's what I want to get onto just now, the story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe compared to the story with the DCEU universe. What's your thoughts on how DC handled their universe to begin with?
Well, if you go back to Superman, in 1978, that was really kind of the first big commercially successful superhero film, wasn't it? That was the film that really kind of pushed, even though Superman had been around since 1938, that's the film that really pushed him into kind of the heart of the mainstream, if you will. And then Batman, 89 as well, which was the biggest movie of 89, in fact. But there wasn't that whole comic book movie boom at the time. It wasn't really, it's like you said, it wasn't really until kind of X-Men, Spider-Man did we start to see more and more superhero films coming out. Marvel have done a fantastic job. Disney have done a great job in constructing the universe that is the MCU. They've done a fantastic job in carefully constructing this universe. They've clearly got a man, Kevin Feige, a man with a vision. They know exactly what direction they're going in. Ultimately, that's what DC kind of lack. There doesn't seem to be a clear direction. And as a DC fan, as a DC comic fan, it does frustrate me because I would love to see DC films, getting as much praise and people talking about DC like they're talking about Marvel. I think Marvel have done it right. DC, when Batman v Superman came out in 2016, that was probably the most excited I'd ever been for a movie. To see these two icons on screen together for the very first, that in itself is a massive selling point. But at the same time, there was a little part of me thinking to myself, hang on a sec, are they rushing this? Are they rushing this? Because I firmly believe that Ben Affleck should have had a solo Batman film. There should have been some kind of an organic build-up to this movie.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We had Man of Steel in 2013, first film in the DCU, which I think is a really good film, despite its flaws. I really like Man of Steel. But, I mean, that gets me onto the point. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get a Man of Steel 2, are we?
It's not looking likely just now. I'm hoping so, because like you, I really liked Man of Steel. They cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman back in 2014 here.
Yeah.
I see if they took their time like Marvel done. Like Marvel brought out their characters first, apart from their side characters at the time, like Black Widow and Hawkeye. But they were bringing out their big characters with solo movies first to build up that story, so that when we get the Avengers or when we get the Justice League, we know the characters, we care for the characters. But in the DCEU, they went from Man of Steel to like a civil war in Batman versus Superman. If they just brought out, like you say, bring out Batman after it with Ben Affleck, bring out Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot, and then bring out Batman versus Batman versus Superman with Gal Gadot, but build up the other characters within that, like Aquaman, The Flash. If you really want to take your time, give them their solo movies first, and then when I'm looking at the Justice League now, 2021, the Zack Snyder cut that came out in 2021. See if they just brought out all those solo movies between 2013 and 2020, we would have had a massive build-up for 7 years, leading on to the 8th year with the Justice League. It could have been just as epic as the Avengers, but they decided we need to catch up. We're playing catch-up all the time.
Yeah, that's what they were doing effectively. They were doing it the other way round, and I don't know if they did it this way I don't know if they were like worried about copying Marvel. They were accused of copying the same way as Marvel and whatever. I mean, I'm one of these people. It's great to have the Justice League. It's great to have some connective tissue to all of these films, but at the same time, I personally don't need everything connected. I just want to see good films. I just want to see really good films. I mean, you look at Batman Returns, two of the best Batman films still out there. They were, Batman Returns was a sequel to it, but there wasn't this huge cinematic universe. It's because Marvel, Disney have done such a great job with it that it's very hard to do, though. It's very hard to do. And it's like you said, DC basically rushed it. And I think it's a real shame if we don't get Henry Cavill as Superman again. He's already established himself in that role. He's cemented himself in that role, and it's like they're not doing anything with him.
Yeah,
Superman is such an iconic character. He certainly deserves his own movie. He deserves. I mean, there's rumors saying that he might appear in the Black Adam film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which I would certainly say is quite a strong possibility. But he's Superman. He shouldn't be relegated to just bit parts.
Yeah, but what are they scared of? Like when you're looking at Justice League and even the Snyder Cut, it's almost like they're scared to use Henry Cavill Superman. Like he is, well, to me, he's one of the best characters in the DCEU, if not to me the best character in the DCEU. Why are they so scared to use this character?
I think that 2017's Justice League, which of course, was a butchered mess, not the film that we should have got and could have got. I think that film just threw a big spanner in the works here. Needless to say, it was a massive disappointment and that. But then there's been rumours floating around for ages about a Man of Steel 2. There was even rumours of a Supergirl film. And I was actually, the first thought of that was, okay, that's fair enough, Supergirl, I'm on board, but hang on a sec, we've got Superman, why not Superman?
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's been waiting years here for a possible sequel, and they're going to throw in Supergirl before they even do a follow-up to Superman.
Yeah, it's just it makes no sense. I think if they were going to do a Man of Steel 2, it should have came at the time where Batman versus Superman came out, and then build up your Batman character. Even if you want to bring Bruce Wayne into Man of Steel 2 back then that's fine. But then give him a solo movie and then do your Justice League. But yeah, I think that they worked it up too fast. And then when you go back to Marvel, which is again my area, I've went to see every Marvel movie in the cinema, including Black Widow now. And just seeing the way that they've built the worlds right up until the Winter Soldier, Civil War, each character developed, they evolved throughout the films that they were in. When I saw the first Avenger, I wasn't too on board with the Captain America character. I thought he was quite boring and quite cheesy. But then when the Winter Soldier came around, he instantly became my favourite Avenger just because of the movie, just because of the way he's progressed and moving forward. And you care for him at that point. You know, see when I watched the Civil War trailer, I was almost in tears just watching the trailer because of how far the characters have came from back then till 2016 at the time. And then obviously they built up this universe so big that we get Infinity War and Endgame. And I don't know about you, but those are two of the greatest movies I've ever seen, especially at the cinema. They were fantastic. And I'm hoping that DC can do something like that. They could come closer to do like a dark side thing, but it's not looking that way just now. How do you feel about who is the biggest DC character or villain compared to Thanos?
Darkseid.
Would it be Darkseid? Yeah.
Oh, Darkseid, without a doubt. Darkseid is DC's equivalent to Marvel's Thanos. I know Darkseid. I'm not going to get into this whole like DC Marvel. Darkseid was created first, and Marvel actually admitted that they used Darkseid as kind of a what's the word I'm looking for here, as an inspiration and influence for Thanos. You know, but it's like you said with Marvel. Marvel have done a really good job of popularizing some of their lesser-known characters. Be it Ant-Man, be it Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, they've all been successes. They've, you know, Batman, Superman are icons. I mean, you know, they've been around since like 1938, 39, and I feel like they think, the studio thinks that these characters don't really need introductions. You could just throw them into something, because everyone knows who Batman and Superman are. You know, and, you know, with 2017's Wonder Woman, you know, I really liked it. I don't think I loved it as much as some other people. What about you? But it was good to see a good female superhero film, because that was the first ever good female superhero film we'd had. I mean, prior to that, we had Catwoman, we had Elektra and Supergirl from 1984.
Yeah,
what was your thoughts on Wonder Woman? What was your...
I really liked it. I think every time she was fighting, you know, I felt like I was there. You know, I think obviously the sound editing was great in it, and that helped with the fight scenes and the fight choreography. But I think that was a really good Wonder Woman movie. I was really disappointed in Wonder Woman 84. That was to me, that was pretty terrible, to be honest. Probably the worst. But and then after seeing Wonder Woman 84 with the less fight scenes, etc., when Zack Snyder brought out the Snyder cut of Justice League, just seeing her back again as Wonder Woman in the Justice League, it felt like I was watching Wonder Woman again, like the real Wonder Woman that I saw back in 2017. But yeah, I was a big fan of Wonder Woman 2017. It was one of my best. Which leads me to my next question. Like, when you talk about the DCEU, what's your favourite DCEU movie?
Ooh, well, I'm going to quickly say this, actually. Based on some early reactions of a film that's coming out, I'm hoping it's going to be The Suicide Squad, the new one. I'm hoping. I'm getting quite excited for this movie. I'm really hoping. I've got a lot of faith in James Gunn, and I'm hoping that James Gunn can do for Suicide Squad what he's done for Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, but
I was going to say, I think my worry for The Suicide Squad is, could it be another movie that's trying to be like Guardians of the Galaxy, because they've got the yellow jumpsuits, you know, all that kind of stuff? It seems like it could be a carbon copy. Obviously, it's not going to be. I'm sure James Gunn's not that silly, but it could be swaying like, ooh, try to copy.
I'm excited for the fact of, I think it's R-rated, so I'm expecting it to be pretty violent, ultra violent. You know, what I love about the Suicide Squad as a whole is the air of unpredictability that them comics have, is that basically the lesser known characters get time to shine.
Yeah.
And because they're disposable, lesser known characters, anyone can die. And I would fully expect probably half of the cast of this movie is probably going to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, and they're not going to kill Harley Quinn off, you know, she's a commercial cash cow. But anyone effectively could die.
Yeah.
But I'm liking the look of it. I am liking the look of it. So as it stands, it's a tough one, actually. It's a real tough one. Because I even though I was massively disappointed by Batman v Superman, I still like it. I still like the movie. It's not the film it could have been, and it's not the film it should have been.
Yeah.
I would probably say it could still be Man of Steel or possibly the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Snyder Cut.
I'm with you there. I think it's close between Man of Steel and the Snyder Cut. However, third spot is cemented. For me, it's Shazam.
I was actually just thinking the same.
Yeah, that was the
Great
surprise.
fun, isn't it?
That was a surprise of the DCEU. If it's going to be in the DCEU, because obviously we've got Black Adam coming, and then you've got Shazam 2. I'm sure that they'll cross over at some point. If not in Black Adam or in Shazam 2. But yeah, Shazam was the surprise package of the whole DCEU. Yeah,
Shazam was good fun, really good fun. It was a film about, it was wish fulfillment. Mm-hmm. Every little kid would love to be a superhero. Yeah. I thought the film was very funny. I think it had some real heart there. It kind of took me by surprise. It was actually better than I kind of expected it to be. I think the unfortunate thing about it, not to compare or anything, it was released right between Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And box office wise, even though it did okay, it made well over 300 million. I feel like Shazam is a film that could have made more.
Yeah, it should have made more. It could have.
It should have made. Yeah.
Definitely, because it had that big box office feel to it. Like a summer blockbuster that could have come out in June, July, whatever. But yeah, I think maybe the timing wasn't there for Shazam.
Being released right near Avengers Endgame, which is obviously the highest grossing movie of all time now. It made nearly $2.8 billion at the box office.
Not anymore. Avatar's back at number 1.
Avatar? What, the 2009 Avatar? How come?
Yeah, because it got re-released. And then
recently?
Yeah, and it made just enough to be number 1 again. So.
Oh my God! Really? I didn't. When did this happen?
It was a few months ago, I think, or I can't remember. But yeah, if you check Box Office Mojo or the numbers and stuff,
because Avengers Endgame was just above it. It was very close between them two. So then it's like a competition, isn't it? Oh no, we can't have this. We're gonna. Oh God!
You know that Endgame's going to come back out in the cinema and go back to number 1 again. But yeah, Avatar's officially back at number 1. So
here's one for you. Do you know what the first superhero film was to make $1 billion at the box office?
$1 billion? Well, unofficially, it would be The Dark Knight. Is that right?
That is correct.
But they've now fixed it, and it made $995 million.
Okay, what have they done then?
I was looking at I was looking at the box office numbers 2 days ago, and I was looking at successful DC movies, and I'm like, oh yeah, The Dark Knight made £1 billion and £5 million. That's exactly what I remembered. And I was looking for it. I'm like, that's not in the list of movies that made $1 billion. And I searched for it, 995 million, I believe it says, or 999,500.
Yeah, the last time I checked, it was just over $1 billion. I mean, the highest grossing DC film today. If you said to me a few years ago, Aquaman would make more money than a Superman film or a Batman v Superman film, I'd be like, you need to be sectioned.
Or Justice League.
Seriously.
Justice League's like 600 odd million.
Yeah.
It made double almost.
Suicide Squad made more money, made over $100 million more than Justice League.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. A film with Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. But I think it was clear at that point that people had lost faith.
Yeah.
I think people were just dropping off. People had lost faith and were very disappointed with which is weird really, because Wonder Woman come out, that made I think that was around $850 million. It was a box office success. So you'd think to yourself, Justice League would have got above that, but Justice League was like 200 million less than Wonder Woman.
I know, it's the power of chat. You know, people already said before you went
Word
to
of mouth, innit? Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. People are put off by reviews. I know some people that will look at a review. If it's not a good review, they quite simply won't go and see it.
Yeah. Now, that's a good point, because I was reading a lot of bad reviews on Black Widow, saying that it's one of the worst Marvel movies ever made. It's terrible. It's so slow. Nothing happens in it. So I went to the cinema to see it, thinking, okay, I might as well just watch it anyway. It's a tradition for me. And all the way through it, I'm like, even I was saying to myself, what are people seeing that I'm not seeing? Like, action all the way through it, a good story. It was almost like a spy espionage movie, similar to The Winter Soldier. And I was pleasantly surprised. I think I was maybe more surprised that I liked it and other people hated it. I'm not sure why people don't like Black Widow, but it's a great film.
It's weird because I saw it's Rotten Tomatoes, not that that's gospel. I saw it was like 81, 82%, but then I've seen like people online really like slating it and saying it's one of the worst films in the MCU.
Yeah, so I think it's maybe a bit of Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. Apart from me, I don't love it, I don't hate it. I think it's really good. If I was ranking it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it would probably just be middle of the road. Not one of the best, not one of the worst, but it's certainly been slated by fans. Critics love it, but fans are not loving it. And I think one of my friends, Sean Chandler, he made a good point, saying that after the events of Infinity War and an Endgame, everyone's expecting an Endgame style movie now. And that's what we don't get that with Black Widow. One thing that Black Widow done really well was she didn't rely on any other characters to come in and be a part of her movie. It was just her and her characters. So you didn't get like the Hulk coming in, being the Hulk, Iron Man, none of that. It's just Black Widow. So I think it was really good.
Because Winter Soldier is one of my favourite films in the MCU. I think The Winter Soldier was a great film, and like you, I think that film did a good job of popularising the character even more so. I like the fact that it was part superhero film, part conspiracy thriller, kind of like echoes of them Cold War espionage films, and I think it's a great film. I mean, you know, getting to DC, some of my favourite DC movies aren't part of the DCEU. I don't know what your thoughts on Joker were, 2019's Joker.
I mean, that was... If I had to ask you, I'll answer after you, right? Would you prefer the Joker or the Dark Knight?
Oh, God.
I know they're completely different movies, but if you're ranking them as a whole...
Geez. It's tough. That's really tough. Maybe The Dark Knight, not by much. I thought Joker was a great film, personally.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I thought it was just, I mean, he deservedly deserved that Oscar.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix, great performance. And I loved how it was basically kind of a love letter to 70s, 80s cinema.
Yeah.
You know, there was definite shades of Scorsese's King of Comedy and Taxi Driver in there. I'd probably say The Dark Knight, but what about yourself? There's really not much in it. They're quite a contrast to each other. Yeah, they're
definitely different movies. You've got one that's like a drama, which is The Joker, which is an incredible movie. Joaquin Phoenix, absolutely amazing. One of the best performances that I've ever seen by any actor, one of the best. Then when you look at The Dark Knight, the acting is not as good. Obviously Heath Ledger was good, but the acting wasn't as good. But it was a more epic movie. And something that Christopher Nolan does really well is he can give you an unrealistic character, but put him into a realistic world. And that's what we've done with The Dark Knight. I think The Dark Knight's probably just a little bit better than The Joker. Yeah. But that's only because it's a bigger movie. And I think seeing it on the big screen in IMAX and stuff, it kind of helps. I would say The Dark Knight just beats it, but both movies are masterpieces. Yeah.
I mean, Joker, Joaquin Phoenix really carries that film. I mean, it's a really absorbing, character study.
Yeah.
And Batman Begins, I'm actually one of them people that I might be in the minority here, I'm not sure. I think I might prefer Batman Begins to Dark Knight. I love Batman Begins. I love that film. I think it's a great origin story. I love how it actually incorporates a lot of Frank Miller's elements from Batman Year One. Just a really good origin story that didn't rely. I'm not saying that Dark Knight relied on it, but it didn't have to rely on a villain to tell its story. I just thought it was a really good, and it's the reboot Batman needed after the travesty that was Batman and Robin.
Well, yeah, I think
it needed a reboot.
Yeah, it's a good point you're making, because obviously you read the comics and I don't, so we've got different opinions on our preference. I do really like Batman Begins. I think it was excellent. And you're right, I never thought about that till now. There wasn't really a major villain. You had Ra's al Ghul and the Scarecrow, but they weren't really built up to be one of the major villains. And if I didn't know who Ra's al Ghul was. I didn't know who the Scarecrow was before seeing the movie, because obviously you would have saw that in the comics, so I didn't know who they were. But even though I didn't know the bad guys, I still really liked Batman Begins. And yeah, I think that's maybe why I like The Dark Knight more, because I know who the Joker is. Obviously, it's an epic movie, but I know the characters. I know who Two-Face was. So yeah, definitely the villains were a lot bigger in The Dark Knight, and maybe they did rely on it, especially with the Joker, because without the Joker in The Dark Knight...
Oh, he steals every scene. Yeah, Heath Ledger still... I mean, Heath Ledger's fantastic. And I'm one of them people, I'm not ashamed to admit that, you know, when Heath Ledger was cast, I knew he was a great actor, but I couldn't see him as the Joker.
Yeah, same.
I just couldn't envision him being the Joker. And yet he proved the world wrong.
I think we all learned a lesson from that. You know, when someone gets cast as a specific character, you still get people saying, they're never this person, they're never that. Give them a chance. Like Robert Pattinson as the Batman, people see him as Twilight Boy, but that's not who he is. He was in Twilight for a few movies. He's an incredible actor as well. So when he get cast as the Batman, I'm like, interesting. But at the same time, I don't understand people saying he's Twilight. He was Twilight 10 years ago, not now.
And he doesn't like... Robert Pattinson is a solid actor. He's done a lot of good stuff since, you know, he's proved himself. He's got acting chops. But yeah, it's like you said, there's a lot of people out there that just know him as the Twilight guy. And it's a shame they haven't really looked beyond that. That is the movie I'm most looking forward to. More than anything. The Batman. 2022's The Batman. I cannot wait for that film. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think there's a possibility. I think I might prefer this even more than The Dark Knight and Begins. Honestly, my expectations of this film are very high. And what I'm liking about it is that it's a more detective-driven story. I'm liking the fact that it's not an origin story, because we all know how Bruce became Batman. We know about his parents being killed in crime. We don't have to see all that over again. That he's just I think he's in his second year of being Batman, so he's still finding solid footing. And the fact Paul Dano, terrific actor, playing the Riddler. The Riddler's one of my favourite Batman villains. He really, you know, challenges Batman intellectually. I've loved Paul Dano in everything I've seen him in.
Yeah, same here.
He's a great actor.
Oh, he's incredible. I think the first film I saw him in was The Girl Next Door in 2004. And he didn't seem like the type of actor he is now, but he was good in that. No. Obviously, you've probably seen like movies like There Will Be Blood or Prisoners.
Yes, just Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal.
He's guaranteed he's going to be the next big method actor like Daniel Day-Lewis. He's going to take a few years to get to know his role, and he's going to blow us away every couple of years.
I mean, I don't know how he didn't get Oscar nominated for I don't know Blood, because he held his own against one of the greatest actors of all time,
Absolutely.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the reasons Matt Reeves is a very good director. I loved Dawn of the Apes and War of the Apes. Obviously, Let Me In, which I actually think is a good remake.
Did you do Cloverfield? Yeah.
Cloverfield, yeah. But seeing the interview with him, he just seems so passionate. He seems so incredibly passionate that, look, you know, at the end of the, like, it's more than just a paycheck. He's got genuine enthusiasm for the character of Batman, and he wants to give us the best Batman film he can. And that's the reason this script has taken so long to do. Because Ben Affleck was originally going to direct, wasn't he? He was going to be Batman. He was going to direct it. He stepped away, and it seemed like an eternity for this script to get written. So I think this film is in very capable hands. So I've got to say, you know, at the end of the day, I know that hype can often be a product's own worst enemy. That you're building something up in your own mind. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. And even if it's good, it might be considered disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that there's going to be good on-screen chemistry between him and Zoe Kravitz.
Well,
because Bat and Cat, to me, it's my favourite comic book relationship. I love the on and off, very complex relationship that them two have.
Mm-hmm. I just think when I watch the trailer for it, it looks like a movie that's, not in a bad way, but it looks like a movie that's going nowhere with a sequel. It's going nowhere to be connected to any other film. Almost like The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. It's almost like a standalone movie that we're expecting to get nothing else after it. And in today's world, some people don't like that. Some people think, well, I want to see something after it. But I think what they might be doing, and they might be doing it well, is give us a good film without giving us a hope for a sequel, and the hope that we want a sequel. Like The Joker, it looks like a movie that you just wouldn't need a sequel for, but because it was so good, everyone wants a sequel to this Joker. And maybe they'll do that with the Batman.
Well, I know that with the Batman, Matt Reeves has actually said that, I know the plan, it's all subject to change. The plan is a trilogy.
All right.
The plan is a trilogy. Matt Reeves ideally wants to direct all 3 films.
Right.
Now, this has been said before. When Batman v Superman was released, I remember the internet going ablaze saying that Ben Affleck was going to star in a trilogy of Batman films. It never happened. But there's going to be a lot riding. We'll have to see how well this film does. I think they are going to set it up for a potential sequel, but we're going to have to see how well it does.
Is it set
office-wise and whatnot?
Is it set in modern day?
That's a good question, actually. I've never looked into that.
Because I heard
I'm not
rumors.
sure, actually.
I heard rumors that Joaquin Phoenix may make an appearance in it as the Joker.
Oh, I wouldn't believe that.
Nah.
I'd take that with a huge I don't think we'll ever see Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker again. I know there's been all these online rumors saying there'll be a sequel, etc. I personally, this is where I'm conflicted. He was fantastic in that role, but at the same time, I don't want to see a sequel. I think Joker's a perfectly great film that stands on its own 2 legs.
Mm-hmm. It could be a case of give us the Joker once with one actor and move on. They've done that already. Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, and now Joaquin Phoenix. They've played the character once in one big film and then move on.
Yeah.
So,
and what's your take on Jared Leto's?
I don't like it. Jared Leto is again a fantastic actor, but the role just wasn't for him. That specific Joker wasn't for him. If they gave him Heath Ledger's Joker or Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, then he might have been great. But he's gave us the Suicide Squad style Joker, and no matter who you put in that role, it probably would have been bad anyway. That's my opinion. I don't like the gangster style Joker. What about you?
No, I didn't. It's like you. I think Jared Leto's a great actor, but unfortunately, I mean, I commend him for giving us kind of a fresh iteration of the character. It's not just a version that we've seen before. It's a new version, a new iteration that we've not seen on the big screen before. But at the same time, it's just not one that left any kind of impression with me whatsoever. It felt very forced, in fact. It felt like Leto was trying really hard.
Yeah.
To the point of it coming naturally. And I weren't keen on the tattoos and all that. I know it's cosmetic, it's more in the performance, but I just didn't like damaged and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more like kind of like MTV music video Joker.
A Joker fanboy.
Yeah.
The kind of stuffy tattoos I would expect someone that's a huge fan of the Joker to have, not the Joker himself.
Mm-hmm.
The Suicide Squad, and of course we're getting what other DC film is it we're getting soon? Black Adam.
Yeah.
With Dwayne the Rock, I'm everywhere Johnson. You just can't get away from Dwayne Johnson, can you? He's there, he's here, there, and everywhere.
Oh yeah, he's in like 4 films a year.
So him and John Cena, both in DC films now.
Yeah, that's right.
Because John Cena's in Suicide Squad as the is it Peacemaker or Peacekeeper?
Peacemaker.
I think it's the Is it the Peacemaker?
Peacemaker, yeah.
Okay, and he's already getting his own TV show as well on HBO Max.
I know, I've seen that. It's nuts. But that's I think that's the Suicide Squad could be like the friendly cross between Marvel and DC, with obviously James Gunn coming and bringing over his group of actors like Michael Rooker. He's in it. The little guy that was in The Dark Knight and Ant-Man. What's his name again? David something?
Oh,
David
who
Dykstra?
plays Ant-Man?
No, he doesn't play Ant-Man. Ant-Man's friend who he works in the office with, the little skinny guy.
Oh, David. I can't pronounce his surname.
And he's in The Dark Knight as well.
Often playing villainous roles. Yeah, he was in The Dark Knight. He was also in Gotham.
Oh, was he?
It was the 4th season or 5th season again. He was in Prisoners. He was the guy. The sexual deviant, the one that was visiting at the memorial fit. He's the one that had the snakes in the suitcase. He always seems to get landed villainous roles.
It's because he's got that villainous face, you know.
He has got, and he's Polka Dot Man.
Yep, that's right.
One of Batman's lesser-known villains, and Ratcatcher's in there as well. But I think they've done a gender change for Ratcatcher. It's Ratcatcher 2, a female.
Do you know that James Gunn also created his own character for the film?
Who's that?
Nathan Fillion's playing him. I think he's, what's it called? Detachable Boy or something?
Oh, yeah. Is he really? Has he never appeared in the comics before?
Well, he said that he's created a character for Nathan Fillion.
Okay, yeah, I know who you mean. I can't think of his name.
I could be completely wrong, but that's what he said. He said he's created an original.
Yeah, he detaches his limbs, doesn't he?
Yeah. So he'll be a pointless cat. He'll probably die straight away. Like, in have you seen Deadpool 2?
Yes.
See when they all jump out X-Force, they all jump off. It'll be probably something like that, but it'll be quite funny, hopefully.
Brad Pitt's little cameo in that.
Yeah. So it could be like
oh my god. Did not see that coming. But yeah, Suicide Squad, obviously, Idris Elba in there. A lot of people like, where's Will Smith? How come Will Smith Deadshot's not in there?
Nah,
I haven't looked into it actually, but to be honest, that's one of the issues I had, kind of, not a huge issue. I suppose this comes to me being a comic fan as well. I would have liked to have seen Deadshot wear his mask a lot more during the film, but because it's Will Smith, he's a Hollywood A-class, I don't think they wanted his face covered up too much.
Yeah. But I think you've only got 4 returning characters. You've got Rick Flag, Boomerang, Harley Quinn, and the woman, what's her name?
Amanda Waller.
So I think it's just those 4.
Perfect casting. I'm going to say this. Amanda Waller, Viola Davis, I think, is a bit of an unsung hero in Suicide Squad. Everyone talks about Harley, Margot Robbie, but I actually thought she's really good. I think she's a really good actress, Viola Davis. But also that, King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone.
Mm-hmm. So random.
Now, from what I remember, King Shark was originally going to be in the 2016 Suicide Squad.
Oh, was it?
But to cut the budget down, it would have put the budget a bit up, being an all CG character. So that's the reason they swapped him for Killer Croc instead.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But you've also got, I think, Peter Capaldi's in there as I'm not sure if he's the big villain, the Thinker.
Yeah.
That's it. Sean Gunn playing 2 characters.
The little
he's
rat thing.
Weasel,
yeah.
Now, don't think Weasel's cute, because I know there's people looking at Weasel thinking, oh, he's kind of cute. He's a child killer.
Yeah. He's
Weasel, and he's also appearing as Calendar Man, the Batman villain.
Right, okay.
As well. One of kind of Batman's lesser-known villains, if you will. But so Sean Gunn's actually been cast in two roles.
But when you look at this cast, or you look at the characters in the Suicide Squad, it's hard not to compare them to the Guardians of the Galaxy ones. You've got Rocket Raccoon, who is Weasel.
Yeah.
You've got the Shark. Was it Shark Man?
Killer Shark.
He's like, is he Groot?
Groot,
you've got Harley Quinn, who's going to be Gamora, Rick Flag, or potentially John Cena's character, whoever.
Yeah.
No, who's Idris Elba playing?
Oh, he's Bloodsport.
Bloodsport, right? Okay.
Yeah, he's Bloodsport. Now, when he was when it was announced he was cast, I actually thought he was going to be Bronze Tiger, who's actually one of the greatest martial artists in all of DC, and he's actually been a member of the Suicide Squad. That's who I would have put money on him being. It feels kind of weird to me. Again, I suppose just kind of being the comic fan that Deadshot's not in there.
Yeah.
Because Deadshot is very much a core member. He's in pretty much almost every Suicide Squad story now.
I wouldn't rule him out. I know that he's not been advertised and cast and things like that, but sometimes you get a little, maybe even an end credit scene where you'll see him come back at some point. You might. So yeah, never say never.
So let's talk about quickly Marvel then. So Marvel, what's the film that you're looking forward to the most? Because I know obviously you're more into Marvel than me. I'm more into DC than you. I probably told you this. I feel like I'm a little bit burnt out from Marvel at the moment. I think that's only because we've had 24 films in the MCU now. But what's the film that you're excited for, Marvel wise?
Well, two. I mean, I'm looking forward to Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man coming out, No Way Home, and I think it's because I'm interested in seeing what they do with this multiverse. If there is going to be a multiverse, and obviously it's all but confirmed that Tobey Maguire is going to make an appearance somehow. Not sure about Andrew Garfield, but Tobey Maguire for definite. So I'm interested in that. Also, because I'm a horror fan, I'm looking forward to Doctor Strange. That's been directed by Chris, what's his name again?
Sam Raimi.
Is it? Oh yes, is it Sam Raimi?
Sam Raimi, yeah.
Yeah. Who was supposed to direct it? Do you know what it is? Sorry. Doctor Strange, the first one was directed by Scott Derrickson, who's a great horror director. He directed The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and he was supposed to direct the second one, but he didn't. But Sam Raimi, again, I was going to say anyway, horror related, so Sam Raimi's directing part 2. So I'm interested in seeing where they go with that, because that's going to be his first Marvel movie since Spider-Man 3.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Time, 2007.
Yeah, so we'll see how he's progressed.
I think he's a good fit. Sam Raimi is one of them guys, you know, you're an Evil Dead fan, you know, Drag Me to Hell. He's very good at this kind of surrealistic, out there kind of imagery and all that. It's you know, I think he's a good fit for the film. With the Spider-Man movie, I think the worry I have is that it could end up becoming a little bit too bloated.
Yeah, and
I'm hoping it isn't the case, but by throwing, because I know Green Goblin's in there, I think. I know Electro is. I know Electro, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is in there. But they're throwing quite a few villains. Now, I think that's Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of suffered the same fate, I felt. Like they tried to do too much. They tried to throw too much into it, villain-wise.
Yeah.
So
it is weird that, you know, in 2007 we had like 3 villains in the one film, and people are like, wow, there's too many. But when you look at films these days, look at Endgame, look at Infinity War, look at other, you've got like 12 villains, 15 villains, you know, like, so as long as you tell the story right, the villains can fit. But if they're going to put, it sounds to me like if they're going to bring in all these characters from all the different universes, it could end up like the DC TV universe, where all these characters are coming from different shows, and then the Flash movie that's coming out that's got other, like Batman, Michael Keaton's coming back. They could run that fine line of being too convoluted, so they need to make sure that they get it right. Yeah, I think that's the. It would need a good runtime, a good adequate runtime as well. I think. Yeah. I mean, I think all of the Spider-Man films, actually, apart from maybe the first one, which was around 2 hours, they've all been well over 2 hours long, haven't they? Yeah.
That's like the modern thing now, though. Most comic book films are like 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15 now, aren't they? Yeah,
you need to get that time in for story purposes. But yeah, you'll be looking at 2.5 hours you'll be hoping for a film with this potential story. Because without that runtime, it's just going to be an absolute rush and a mess right to the very end. So yeah, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange is what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to them all, but I think those two in particular, I'm looking forward to Thor, the God of Thunder.
Oh, Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder, yeah. But again, it's not high on my list. I think they're maybe changing that up a little bit too much and trying to make it too funny. I really liked Ragnarok. but the tone shifted too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed Ragnarok. At the same time, some people have said they think it's like the best, or certainly one of the best films in the MCU. I don't think I loved it as much as some people.
Mm-hmm.
Taika Waititi, I love his sense of humor, his brand of humor, but I don't know. I didn't want as much humor in that film as we got.
Yeah,
I mean, it almost felt like there should have been a laughter track with the film.
yeah.
I'm all for a bit of humour if used sparingly. Another one of my favourite films in the MCU is Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's one of my favourites in the universe as well. It was a breath of fresh air at the time because it was advertised without any connection to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, it was still an MCU movie, but it was marketed without that connection. And then when we saw the movie, we saw Thanos in there, and we thought, wow, how good would it be to have these Guardians fight alongside the Avengers? And obviously, they did later on.
Yeah.
So Guardians was a massive surprise and a massive success. And it was like $770 million or something it made at the box office.
Yeah.
That was huge numbers for a movie full of characters that I had never heard of until then.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to think, because obviously, I mean, it started in 2008, didn't it, with Iron Man? I don't think at that point there was really even a plan at that point, was there, for a big shared cinematic universe? More the post-credit scene with Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, was more a kind of a tease to appease the fans.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Yeah, initially I thought, oh, there's Nick Fury, that's great. And that was it. But then you're thinking, why bringing Samuel L. Jackson in just for that one little bit? But then you've got Tony Stark making an appearance at the end, talking to General Ross and the Incredible Hulk. And I'm thinking, well, that's quite interesting, having two post-credit scenes with characters in Marvel. And that's when obviously it started to pick up momentum. And obviously the rest is history.
Yeah. But the thing is, Marvel now as well with Disney Plus, I mean, the TV shows, the amount of TV shows that are coming out now as well. WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier. I think Loki's just finished, hasn't it?
Yeah, and then What If is starting soon as well.
Yeah.
So I've not seen any of the shows yet. Again, I've not had time. But I'll need to start watching them as well at some point. Yeah,
but again, it's like DC are following the thing, because you got Peacemaker coming out. They're also doing what's the other TV show? Oh yeah, GCPD. Now that's a TV show I'm quite excited for. So Gotham Central Police Department, Gotham City Police Department. So it's going to be a very grounded crime series set within Gotham. Hopefully it's a lot better than Gotham, than the actual TV show we got. But I believe Jeffrey Wright, obviously Jim Gordon from the Batman film, is actually going to be Jim Gordon in this TV show as well. So that's a show I've got some kind of high hopes for, in all honesty, because I don't know if you ever watched Gotham, but for me that was a show that just completely went off the rails.
I didn't wasn't interested. I think looking at the cast as well, at first I thought nothing kind of strikes me as wanting to watch it, so I just never bothered. So never seen an episode of it.
I thought it was like it was good. It was never great. It was good while it was grounded. But then it just went so far off the rails. The writing was just all over the place, very uneven, and they basically butchered some of my favourite characters in that show. It was quite masochistic to watch, actually, after a while.
Yeah.
But so I think Marvel. I think Spider-Man's my most anticipated.
Yeah.
What's it called again? I know it's Home. Got Home in the title, wasn't it?
No Way Home.
No Way Home. Okay.
Yeah. Spider-Man, No Way Home. I've obviously keeping that theme of home in the title. Far From Home, Homecoming. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. It's good that we've got the same creative team coming in and doing the third movie, because you need that continuation. Like you were talking about Matt Reeves. If you want to do a Batman trilogy, keep the same director, keep the same team behind it, so it all feels continuous. Because that was the problem. I'm not going to talk about Star Wars, but that was the problem with the new Star Wars trilogy, changing the directors around. It just felt like a different movie. So coming back to Marvel and DC, see if you get the same director team, the same creative team, then your movies will feel like they flow a lot better. And that's what I like about the Spider-Man movies just now. They're feeling really good. So I'm hoping for the best. Not expecting the worst, but I'm hoping that if we do see a multiverse, they don't mess it up, they don't convolute it, keep it as tight as possible. You know?
Well, speaking of multiverse, can we quickly just mention, because this is what got Batman fans excited, especially Batman fans Michael Keaton. Obviously, we got a glimpse of the 89-92 Batmobile in the Batcave for the upcoming Flash movie.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was officially confirmed a little while ago. Michael Keaton's going to be Batman in this movie. To what capacity, we don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to be involved in any action sequences whatsoever or whatever. But that prospect alone, I mean, don't get me wrong, I haven't got high hopes for this film. I mean, I'm hoping it's going to be good. But at the same time, it feels like it could run the risk of being bloated, and they're probably trying to throw too much into this. But just simply because I am an 89-92 Batman fan, I'm looking forward to seeing Keaton.
Yeah. I think what the movie could do is it could do... You've got Tony Stark, you can Robert Downey Jr. in Spider-Man Homecoming to kind of build up the Spider-Man movies. If the Flash wants his own trilogy or whatever, maybe Michael Keaton is the person to do that. He might be the father figure or the character that we move towards, because we've all got a nostalgic love for Michael Keaton's Batman, no matter what age you are. So that will get bums on the seats. That will get people watching the movie. And if the movie's good, then that could build up a good following for the Flash movies moving forward. I think it's a good idea. I just wish that they would just bring out another Michael Keaton Batman to see how we get on. You know, like give him his own solo movie again. Maybe they'll do that. That would be
like, they could that would follow in the footsteps of something like Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Frank Miller's graphic novel in which Bruce comes out of retirement. But they're clearly using a lot of elements from Flashpoint, which is probably the biggest Flash story ever told. They released it as an animated film, which was great. As a live-action movie, though, I don't think DC have built up their universe well enough to jump into such a huge storyline like that. I think you really have to cement each actor in their role, etc. I mean, Supergirl's in this film.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That has me confused. I don't. Again, it comes down to how come there's not a Supergirl solo film? Supergirl's going to come into the Flash movie.
Yeah, so it's almost like they're building up the characters the wrong way. They're bringing them into movies as little tiny parts, and then she'll get her solo movie later on if she's well received in the movie. That's the way I see it. But we don't know what universe she's from. Is she from the same universe as the Justice League? Is she from the same universe as...
That's the thing. Because we've got Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's in this film as Batman. Again, it could be little more than a fleeting cameo. It might literally be one scene. It could be, a few seconds long or whatever. But obviously with the multiverse, all things are possible. When you've got a character like the Flash, he taps into the Speed Force and he can create, alternate worlds, etc. So he's basically the backup plan. I think the Flash movie is going to be the reset button. The DC universe will essentially reboot, reset, with this film.
Yes, I think when you compare Marvel with DC, it's almost like DC are bringing out the multiverse to try and fix all the storylines that they've tried to create and reboot time and time, whereas you've got the Marvel multiverse where what they're trying to do is give us reasons why the X-Men didn't help Avengers, give us reasons why Deadpool didn't help, characters that they're buying back from Fox. So they need to give us reasons why they're not there. So give us a multiverse then, put them in, bring X-Men through to our universe, etc. So it's almost like Marvel have used the multiverse in a better way. DC are using it to fix things, Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's the reason that the Flash movie has taken such a long time to get here. I mean, it's ironic, really. He's the fastest man in the world, but it's taken a hell of a long time to get to cinema screens. It's because they know the DCEU hasn't gone according to plan. They need to sort things. They need to try and fix things. And the Flash movie is the way of doing that.
Yeah. They need to get it right. This is a last chance.
Yeah, they just need to... As I said, though, I would be quite happy, right? Honestly, myself, I would be quite happy for them to say, look, We tried. We didn't do it. We're not going to do a shared cinematic universe. We're just going to do DC solo films. Me personally, I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy. Just give me some Batman films, give me some Batman movies or whatever. I'm happy as long as the films are good. But because the MCU has been such a success and everything, it's kind of like it's raised the bar.
Yeah,
it's raised the bar, and it is very hard to do. They've perfected it though. They've done a great job with doing that. Yeah,
it's became the expectation now though that if you bring out a superhero movie, someone's got to be connected with someone. That's the expectation now. So the expectations are high. So if DC did decide, let's just scrap the DCEU, there won't be much interest in all the movies that come out unless it's a movie like The Joker, and that's not going to happen every day or every year. So you've got to get it right if you're not using a shared universe, because everyone expects it now.
I just wish their live action films were as consistent as their animated films, because DC do animation really well. They've churned out so many good and great animated movies. Mm-hmm. They're quite consistent when it comes to animation, and they had Apocalypse War, which was basically their animated equivalent to Marvel's Avengers Endgame. Mm-hmm. And that was really good stuff. But again, they've kind of like rebooted it now because there was nowhere kind of left to go with that storyline. So, but yeah, I actually prefer, on a whole, DC's animation over their live action.
I wonder why they can't just implement those stories and those creators and bring them into the movies. It can't be that hard to do.
No, I don't know. I've no idea. I mean, Jeff Johns is like a big DC writer. Okay, he's been writing he's wrote so many big storylines for Superman, Green Lantern, Batman, you name it. And he actually works on the DC films, live action films. He was a co-writer of Wonder Woman 84. Oh. And I'm like, I just don't get it. He can do so many great storylines in comic format. But you put a film title. I know it must obviously work completely differently to work in film and whatever. But getting to runtime, I thought that film was too long. Wonder Woman 84. I thought that was a bit too long.
I think it was 2 hours too long.
Yeah. It was like 2.5 hours, wasn't it? It was like 151 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah, the only person I liked in that was, what's her name?
Kristen Wiig,
and she wasn't great. And no. She usually is pretty good, but she was the best thing in it for me. But yeah, the story, the acting, everything was just bad. A disappointment, considering how long we had to wait as well, like with all the delays and everything. And Steve Trevor was just lazily forced into the plot, I felt. And do you know one thing that didn't make sense to me? I don't understand it even now, is that how Steve Trevor comes back. Why does he come back in someone else's body? Why didn't he just appear? I don't get that. It makes, it's less confusing if they just bring him back as himself.
Yeah, why was he in another guy's body? I didn't understand that.
No.
Did they just want this guy, like, I don't know, was he a friend of the director of Patty Jenkins or something? They just wanted a role in this film. I don't know, but
there's more questions than answers for that movie. Yes,
definitely. But I think with Marvel, they've gone about it the right way. At the end of the day, they've done a great job. They're reaping the rewards. I mean, you look at Avengers Endgame, you think to yourself now, though, how is it ever going to get bigger than that?
It won't. It can't, unless...
No.
The only way they can get bigger than that is if you bring back all the actors from Endgame, bring in Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, get all the best bits of everything you love about Marvel and put them in one movie. It's the only way. Bringing in Galactus, bring in Tyrant. We got Tyrant
Galactus,
as well.
I kind of expect to be the next big bad villain at some point.
They did tease us with Fast and Furious. They did tease us with Fantastic Four, and their
Silver Set. Yeah, I remember. He was like a big cloud, wasn't he?
With that, you see a 4 as well spinning.
Yeah.
So they've obviously teased us with that. So the only way they can get bigger or as big as Endgame is give us the Fantastic Four with the Avengers, with the X-Men. I would even do like if you're building up the X-Men movies, build it up to like a Civil War style movie, X-Men versus Avengers. Get them to battle it out, realize that they're all friends, and then give us another Avengers style with everyone in the same team against Galactus, against Tyrant, against anyone who's big in the Marvel comics.
Yeah. Well, we might actually get a good Fantastic Four film now, because Marvel have acquired, Disney, have acquired the rights. We've never had what I think is a good Fantastic. The first one, okay and whatever, but it's a shame really. Stan Lee never, because that was his first big creation.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four came out just the year before Spider-Man, 1961.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's not going to.
Yeah, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen with Disney at the helm, and the same goes for. It's quite interesting to see X-Men. How the X-Men franchise is now tackled, because obviously they're all going to be incorporated into the MCU at some point, aren't they?
Yeah, so I think they're taking their time. See, if that was DC, and if DC acquired the rights to X-Men and Fantastic Four, we would already have the movies out right now. That's how fast they try and do it. Whereas Marvel, they acquired the rights a while ago, but they're still just churning away, thinking of a good way to introduce these characters, whether it be solo or whether it be part of the universe. So they take their time.
Yeah. Well, I remember over the space of a few months, it was like every week a new DC project was getting announced. I remember it. It was Nightwing, Batgirl, Deathstroke, Lobo, Plastic Man, Blue Beetle, which is actually happening. They are doing Blue Beetle. None of them films ever happened or have ever actually come close to happening. But they were announcing all of these films left, right and centre. And I think to myself, just you've already got characters in this universe. Just build on them first.
Yeah, I think they're trying to make sure that everyone knows that they're going to be as big or bigger than Marvel. Telling us they've got these characters, we can use the characters, but if you're going to use them, film them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end, Barry. So what I think we best do is, if you can tell me now, you've already told me your kind of favourite DCEU movie. Minus the Avengers movies, what's your favourite Marvel Cinematic Universe movie?
Oh, that would be Winter Soldier, I think.
Yeah, I think that's most people's choice. For me, that's a close second, but I think Civil War just beats it. I know that a lot of people prefer the Winter Soldier, but there's something about the Civil War that felt very Avengers-like. The stakes were high. It still felt like that espionage-style movie. So I think it just beats the Winter Soldier for me. Winter Soldier is my second favourite, I think, but Civil War is up there. What do you think of Civil War? Because I know that some people...
I really like Civil War. As I say, I mean, I would put it pretty much in the same league as Winter Soldier. It is kind of more of an Avengers film. It is, with how many characters are in the film and that. Sometimes I have to remind myself it is technically a Captain America movie.
Yeah.
But the awesome moment, the fight at the is it the helipad? I can't remember where they're fighting now.
It's a German airport.
Yeah. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. That whole sequence, and obviously Spider-Man was brought in there. I remember that the internet went ablaze, did it, when Spider-Man. It was announced that Spider-Man was going to be in the movie and that as well. And Black Panther and Spider-Man both appearing for the first time in that film. No, I really like it. Guardians of the Galaxy is up there as well. That's quite high for me.
Yeah, same.
What would be your weakest?
Ooh, the weakest? Captain Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Well, that's way down. That's like you've got Captain Marvel, then you've got the rest. Like she's, it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad film. I won't watch it again unless I'm watching all the Marvel films. That's probably my weakest. What about you?
I've only seen it once. I wasn't too keen. I think the weakest might be. I'm quite torn between two, but I think it might actually be For the Dark World. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, there are certain aspects I do like in it. Visually, I think it's great and that. Iron Man 2 was a weak sequel to me.
Yep.
Iron Man 2, I think, is one of the weaker films in the MCU. I'm one of them people that quite likes Iron Man 3. I know it's quite divisive. I don't like the fact they butchered the Mandarin. for the sake of a plot twist in that film.
They might not. They might not have butchered the Mandarin yet. We might find out.
Shang-Chi, innit?
Yeah. So there might be some sort of twist there.
Yeah. What about DCEU? What's your weakest?
It's got to be Wonder Woman 84. But if that didn't exist, it would have been the original Justice League.
Yeah. That, and I would say that, and Suicide Squad would be like near the bottom for me. Shazam, I think third place for me. Snyder Cut probably number 1. Man of Steel number 2.
Yeah, they're my top 3 as well. I think for the DCU. But I was going to say the biggest question is, what's your favourite comic book movie of all time?
Of all time? Oh,
Any.
Wow. Okay, so is this just keeping to live action?
Live action, yeah, live action.
Live action, okay. Then I would say... God, that's really... Do you know, that's really difficult. That is really tough. I don't think I've ever been asked that question.
No?
No, oh, God. I can say that 89 Batman is up there. I have a soft spot for the first Batman film.
Yeah.
I do have a soft spot for that movie. And I do really like the first Superman as well.
Are those 2 your top then, do you think?
They'd be up there somewhere. Yeah. I do apologise, I can't give a definitive answer on that one. That's like asking a mother which of her children does she love the most. What about yourself?
I'm more kind of the popular movies myself. It's either got to be Endgame or The Dark Knight, one of those 2.
Okay.
So I'm quite boring. I'm quite boring with my answers because they're probably the 2 popular answers. But yeah, I can't.
I will say the Endgame. I tell you the best. I think the best cinematic experience I had with a Marvel film. Endgame, right? I loved it, absolutely loved it. But I think it's when the first Avengers come out.
Yeah.
Because it was the first team-up superhero film we'd ever had.
Yeah, that was
like a big release, and just like that was a big thing. To have these characters, on screen together for the first time, and it kind of blew me away. It was such an experience.
It's funny you say that because although that experience blew me away, because of the effects of Endgame and how that made me feel in the cinema, I've kind of forgotten how I felt when I watched the Avengers for the first time in the cinema.
And
that's a big thing to do because I remember back in the day, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Nothing's going to top that. But then Endgame and even Infinity War blew the first Avengers away. It's making me forget how I felt when I first saw it. So I mean, when you see everyone getting together in Endgame and Steve getting the hammer and saying Avengers assemble, that feeling, it's something I'll probably say in 10 years time, I forgot how I felt in Endgame, but at the moment that's still sticking with me after 2 years, like that experience in the cinema. My kid Jack was with me, my son, he was jumping up and down, he was screaming, he couldn't believe it, he was like, oh my god, oh my, and everybody in this, I mean, you're from the UK, so like our cinemas in the UK, they don't get very rowdy like the US.
No.
But, but that experience, everyone was jumping up and down, apart from me. I was sitting like, sit down. But the experience was amazing. It's something I won't experience for a long time.
I remember I was really excited for Dark Knight as well. Very excited for that. I didn't see Batman Begins on the big screen, shockingly.
Oh, I did.
I know, yeah, I didn't, and I was gutted. I somehow missed it. I can't remember why. I was busy at the time or something or whatever. I didn't end up seeing it, and I saw it when it hit DVD and that, and I thought, I was... Because that film only made like half of what Dark Knight did.
That's right, yeah. It's like 400 odd million or something, 500 million.
I think it was. I don't think it was like far off 500. Yeah. But again, I think that's probably due to the fact of maybe people were wary.
Yeah.
Maybe people were very apprehensive about another Batman film after Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that's right.
I
remember going to see The Dark Knight in the cinema. I went the midnight showing the night that it came out, and the queue was all the way around the corner. And I go to the world's tallest cinema, So we've got like big area for our cinema, and it's literally the queue just kept going round and round and round, past shops, past restaurants. That's how massive it was. We never got out of the cinema till 4 a.m, and it was mobbed. It was so huge. So that was a great experience as well. Seeing that in the cinema, it was so good.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think I've ever. Do you know the busiest I've ever seen a cinema was when I went to see what film? Yeah, it probably would have been Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a cinema. There was a seat spare.
Yeah.
It was just like opening weekend, as you can imagine, and just absolutely jam packed. But yeah, in America, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Like in America, I think certain cinemas and stuff, people shout and you know. But Man of Steel was the first Superman film I ever saw on the big screen. Same. Because obviously I wasn't even born when Superman came out, and I never. What was your thought on Superman Returns?
I went to see that in the cinema, so that'll be my first Superman film. I thought it was okay, a bit cheesy, and it did. It's almost like they intentionally made it feel like it was an old film. I don't know what it is. It's like almost like it felt like 1940s.
They did. That's what they went for with Superman Returns. I think it's an okay film and all that. What they tried to do was emulate the Christopher Reeve era to try and. But this is where they kind of like. There were people critiquing it for that, for being too emulative, you know, for trying to copy that kind of, you know, that Christopher Reeve era. Yeah. But then Man of Steel comes out. Man of Steel was a pretty divisive film, and that was criticised for being too different from the Christopher Reeve era, for being too bleak, too somber. I'm like, how can they win? Yeah. Like, how do you make everyone happy? Yeah. I thought the best thing, actually, one of the best things about Superman Returns was Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor. I thought he was a good Lex.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, you. I'm guessing you probably did.
No. I don't really mind the Lex Luthor character. I think he was less animated than Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
But I thought it was overall okay. There didn't seem to be enough action scenes. It seemed to be any action scenes were shown from a distance. Like when the plane was flying away from all the water and the ice. It's just like you can't really see it. You're like, what's happening here? The airplane scene was probably the best scene, and that was just him saving people on an airplane. There was no fight scenes, no action scenes like that. That's what it was missing. It's quite a bland Superman Returns, but overall it was better than some of the Christopher Reeve movies, like the fourth one.
Superman 4 Quest for Peace.
Yeah, so
completely and utterly awful. Yeah.
So it was an upgrade. It wasn't great, but it was still an upgrade.
Yeah, they took a lower budget with the fourth Superman film, from what I remember. Right. They actually had less money to work on it, and it's got one of the most cringeworthy scenes of the entire franchise. It's where he's building. Is it the Great? I can't remember if it's the pyramids or the Great Wall of China. He's actually building the wall back using his vision thing, putting all the stones back. It just looks really cheesy. Do you remember the scene?
I don't remember it. I've seen it once when I was a kid, and I don't remember. Okay.
It looks really bad. I can't remember. I think it's like the Great Wall of China. I'm probably wrong there, or the Berlin Wall or something. It just looks really bad.
Yeah.
You just want to see Superman fight some aliens or something, not rebuild a wall.
Superman the Carpenter.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
Yeah. So right, we'll end it there. Again, thanks for coming on again, Barry.
No problem.
I don't know if you guys can see his name. His name isn't Samantha. If it comes up as his name. So
well, Sunday nights, but you know that stays between us.
I'll get this uploaded before a Sunday then. So this has been the Movie Corner, guys. Again, anything goes on the Movie Corner. It doesn't have to be horror. I know that Barry's a massive fan of the DC universe, or even DC in general. So I wanted to hear his thoughts on the whole DC versus Marvel thing, because you can hear it in his voice. He's quite sad to say that Marvel kind of wins just now in the cinematic universe, but you never know. We could get that Flash movie that just changes everything up, and you never know what will happen. For those of you who don't know Barry, he has, like I say, got the channel Talking Stalk. I'll leave his link down below to his channel, but if you want to talk a little bit about your channel before we go, Barry.
Yeah, my YouTube channel is called Talk and Stalk. It's completely devoted to horror. I'm into films of all genres, but horror without a doubt is my favourite genre. And I've been doing it for about 10 and a half months now. Try to cover all decades, all subgenres, reviews, rankings. And genuinely love doing it. Any support's just massively, massively appreciated.
Yeah, definitely check them out, guys. Anyway, guys, thanks all for watching again. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers, yeah.